Hello and good morning everyone. In this video, I'll tell you about triggers. So functions are basically triggers. Functions are basically you can run them through the portal, or you can run them through Visual Studio Code, or you can run from PowerShell, whatever you find is good and easy. So we can create multiple triggers with it. We can create events. We can call the functions when it is needed. It is a fully managed PaaS service. Azure manages the service completely. You're just required to create the function and call it when needed. So function can be created to backup files, functions can be created to restore data, functions can be created to turn on or turn off resources, or there can be a lot of events that you can create through a function app. So these are just an example. So giving a brief overview of this, you can click on create. And I'm going to click create, and then you have various plans for functions. So you can use the flexible consumption model or the consumption based model. All of them goes with pay-as-you-go services, and all of these provides different kinds of services that you can run. You can scale out to these many number of resources in the services, and they are event driven. As I said, they are event driven. So any event basically makes them work. So I'll click on select, and the function should be created. I'll use the same resource group in New Zealand, and I'll call it as myfunc, and I'll give today's date 0608. It should be a fully qualified domain name because that is what we will call to run it. I can use a Windows or a Linux based system, so I'll use Linux. Okay, let's use Windows, and let's create a .NET project. And you can use isolated worker model, isolated, or in process model. So I will, if you are using isolated worker model, you may need Visual Studio Code to create the structure. So I'll use in process model, and I'll put this in New Zealand North, and I'll click on next. I'll select my storage account, which I have, which I created yesterday. If you want, you can add files to this. I don't need this. Or you can create your own storage account, as it is a consumption model. So some of the services may not be available for this, as it's a basic model. For networking, we will enable public access, monitoring. If you want to monitor the service, you can monitor it. So that's up to you. So we'll wait for this. Do you want to application insights for this? If you don't want, click no. Deployment. And authentication, I'm not using Entra ID, so I'll just use the default one. Click on tags, and I'm going to use location as New Zealand, and I'll click on review plus create, and the resource will be created for me. So usually it takes it's very quick, and the function should be available to you. And once the function app is available, you can create triggers or events that you want in the system. So we'll click on function app, and shortly it should appear over here. So it's still in the creation process. You can see the blue line is going on. We are waiting for the services to come up. It's still deploying it, and it's available now. So I'll click here. It should come. It usually takes a few seconds to appear. So here it is. I'll click on this function app, and now you will see that you get an option of create in Azure portal. This you will only get if you use in process model. If you don't use it, you will be asked only to create in Visual Studio Desktop or other editors or CLI. But I'll show it to you what it means. So if I go here and open the Visual Studio Code, and we sign into Azure over here, and you will start seeing that the functions will appear over here. So either you can create from here, which I'll show it to you how you can create it shortly in another video or link. I'll just click on don't save. I'll close this terminal window and I'll close this also. And once the resources come, you will start seeing the functions over there. So you can use this in Visual Studio Code also. And it should be available over here. So let me sign into Azure. And it is this. So I can go back here and I'm onto the portal, and I go back here and I click on Visual Studio Code. So you will start seeing the resources that I have. So just to give you an overview that if you want, you can also see services that are available here. You can install Visual Studio Code onto the portal and it should come shortly. So it is taking time, but it will appear over here. So I'll show it to you once it is available. Now, going back here onto the portal, let's create our first function. So these are some default functions or templates available or given by Azure. One of them is I'm going to show you HttpTrigger, and one of them is block trigger. So I'll click on HttpTrigger. I'll click on next, and it is a function. I'll authorize it at the function level. I'll click, or you can authorize it at the admin level also if you want. So it's totally up to you how you want it. So I'll just keep create. So the function will be created over here, and you will see that the default function is available. So this is the function that is created, and it is saying hello name, this trigger executed successfully. So it's available to you. Default one, if you know you want to write your own function, you can write it and you can run it. So I'll click on test run, and now I will say name. It is name, and I will say here Arman, and I say run. So I should get this code. Hello Arman, this HTTP trigger executed successfully. So this was the answer. So you can get the answer like this. So this answer has been given to you by this code, and you must get 200 code. 200 is the success code. And if you go to invocations, or if you go to logs, which we have not configured, so the logs will automatically start getting generated, and you will automatically receive some invocations over here. So if you need to see the logs will be enabled, and you will be able to see the outcome over here. Thanks for watching the video, and in next video I'll show you how the block trigger works.